Good morning, everyone. How great to see you. So the topic is open communication. I just want to start a minute with something kind of basic, which is life is a gift. Life is a gift. You've heard that before. I want to get into that in more detail today. But it is said that there is a greater chance of throwing an inner tube into the Antarctic Sea and having a seal swim through the center of that inner tube in Mexico. There's a greater chance of that happening than being reincarnated as a human being. It is a gift to be a human being. Now, sometimes we don't think that way, especially as we get older. In fact, I had a few people say, boy, this age thing, it doesn't feel too good. How many of you have felt that way? This age thing, this body, this human thing we think isn't all that great. So I want to bring us back to what it is to be great in this human body. Are you ready? See, one of our greatest things as a human species is self-awareness. And we learn that so well in science of mind, don't we? We do, how to be self-aware of our thoughts. What are we thinking so that we can redirect that thought, right? I mean, that's what all these classes are about. Change your thinking, change your life. Be aware of those thoughts so that you can change your life. But what about that self-awareness from the neck down? We're aware of the thoughts, things that are happening up here from the neck up. What about the neck down? Take a deep breath. We're going to be going to the neck down today. I know. I'm not just here to look pretty. And I'm not here just to entertain you today. I would like you to leave with a greater partnership with this gift of a body. A beloved partnership. Because, you know, this open communication thing, we're communicating with our body, but it is communicating with us. It is communicating with us, and are we listening? And is there a way in which to listen to our body that is compassionate and patient, not cursing? I don't know. Reverend Carol's getting hip surgery. I'm going to be getting hip surgery pretty soon. And I know about cursing the body when it hurts. So today we're going to love it. Yes. Okay. I just want to see some nods, like, okay, I'm with you, I'm okay, you're with me here, okay. So firstly, let's start with the heart. The heart, you know, is communicating way long. It feels what's happening out there before our intellect even knows it. Our heart can sense the vibration of our environment and what's happening. Dr. Joseph Chilton Pierce wrote in Heart Math. How many of you are familiar with that book? Okay, in Heart Math, what they've discovered is not only that our heart has this intelligence of its own, picks up information before our brain, but what often happens is if we just bypass that heart message and we just go right to our brain, we don't even often listen to the heart in what it's saying. There is a way in which you can integrate, in other words, have your intellect in alignment with what your heart is feeling. I don't know about you, but I'm sure this has happened to you, it's happened to me, and we're all one. So if you've ever reacted before you thought about it, ever? Have you ever been thinking something happened to you, and then you wish, God, I wish I would have said that then. Because that's how I was feeling then, but it took you a while before you could really feel it because you just spoke about it. This is a way of getting your mind and your heart together so that when you do speak, it's from an integrated place of your emotions and your intellect. Wouldn't that be lovely if we could all speak like that? Or tweet like that? Okay, enough of that. So, there's this technique called freeze frame. I want to give you an experience of what that is because, you know, when they measure this, when Dr. Joseph Chilton Pierce measures this, he's a neurocardiologist. They have a lot of research on this, and when they do this 2-minute meditation, 2 minutes, they find that the EKG or the brain waves synchronize with the heart rate variability. So this is how they are proving that your heart and your mind are one. So would you like to go through this little 2-minute meditation? All right. So get yourself comfortable. And I invite you to think of a situation that you're going through. One in which you would like some resolution, but you're not sure what the resolution may be. You're open. All right. And just take a couple of deep breaths in order to sink into this experience. Feel your back supported by the chair. Feel your legs heavy upon the chair. Your shoulders dropped. Your breath is deep. And now bring to mind that situation in which you are going through, in which you would like resolve. And then notice just a couple of emotions that come up around that situation. Maybe it's anger or frustration. Maybe it's confusion. It could be many emotions, but just name a couple for yourself. And when you have those emotions, now notice where they live in your body. Does that emotion live in your heart? Do you feel it in your neck or your shoulders? And as you notice that, and I know you are all very good at going within, I want you to use your imagination and imagine that you are plucking that emotion out of your body and putting it in a basket next to you so that you can retrieve it later. Don't worry, you can get those emotions later. They're not going anywhere. Leave them there. And nod your head when you've done that so that I know we're all kind of good. All right. And now I'd like you to imagine a time when you felt loved, loving, and or lovable. It can be a momentary interaction you've had with someone you didn't even know, but you felt loved, or you felt loving towards them. Maybe it's a particular time you spent with a parent or grandparent or child, even a pet, where you looked in their eyes with that unconditional love. A time where you felt loved, loving, and or lovable. And now, I want you to pretend as if your heart is doing the breathing. So for just a few moments, pretend as if with every inhalation your heart is expanding and expanding. And that which your heart represents, which is love, is now expanding in your being. And another deep breath, your heart is doing the breathing. And from this place, you ask, what am I to know about this original circumstance or condition that you came in with? Take whatever comes. Don't judge. And when you are ready, open your eyes. Now, whatever you came up with, whether you understand it or not, please make note, because this was a way in which your brain and your heart were synchronized about this situation. And there's something to be revealed about whatever came up for you. Good. That is called freeze frame. And that is the way your body is communicating with you and you with it. See this incredible partnership we can have with our body. All right. That's number one. We're going to go to some basics right now, because your body, it really kind of moves in one way at the very cellular level. It moves towards love or away from fear. It is either opening at the cellular level or it is contracting from fear. So open or contract. There's no in between. Life is movement. We're always moving, so we're either loving or scared. And in that realm, now there's different ways of being with that. Let me tell you what fear looks like, first of all. Because some of us, we actually have a diagnosis. It's called the worried well. We are so used to worrying that we're just well and we worry all the time. Maybe some of us are like that. Anyway, so fear. When we're in fear, when we're not loving, this is what happens. Our heart rate starts to go up. Our breath starts to get faster. When we're taking more inhalations, like this, I'm so excited, inhaling, we're not exhaling, which I'm going to get into more later. But when we don't exhale, guess what? We've got all this CO2 in us. This stuff that's supposed to breathe out so the trees can breathe it in, this whole cycle of life. Well, it doesn't get to happen. So if we have more CO2 in us, what are we getting? Inflammation? Sickness? From not breathing. From being afraid. Now, the divine is so awesome. You know, we've evolved. We've evolved from cellular beings up into animals, you know, little swimming creatures, and then walking on 4 legs and then 2 legs. Right, anybody here believe that we came from Adam and Eve and we just all of a sudden were on 2 legs? No? Okay. So we've evolved with 4 legs. So actually we're very new on the evolutionary scale for walking on 2 legs. this higher brain that we develop walking on two legs is the one that is more loving, that knows, this part in our brain that knows that it's safe, is really kind of new. And this is what God did, which is God is so awesome, the divine. In its creation, it said, well, if you're going to walk on four legs, I think you better think better. I mean, if you're going to walk on two legs, you ought to think better than the four-legged creatures. I think this was the thinking. So if you're going to think better, I'm God talking, if you're going to think better on two legs, we better have a way so that you're not always reacting to fear, so that you're not always going to bite someone or fight them or run. So God devised this part in our brain that tells you, whoa, think before you react. There's a part in our brain that does that. You know what? I think I'm just going to use a couple of you examples. So I need a tall person. I'm going to get to you if you would be that. I need a short person. No, that would be me, but I'm giving the talk. Okay, shorter. Come on over here. All right. Okay, she's kind of short. Okay. Camille, come here a second. You just put that wheelchair over here. All right. So this is what we have over here is our reactive brain. So he's going to stand on the end. He's that old brain that was with us thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. And Camille, well, this little Camille, she's our newer brain, our loving, thinking brain. But she's short because she hasn't been around a while. So she can't really compete with that fear-based brain. So God, what is your name? Sarah. God gave us Sarah. Sarah is called the anterior cingulate gyrus. And Sarah's going to mediate between this fear-based brain and this thinking brain. She's going to say, stop. Tell him to stop. Stop it. Let Camille be a loving presence. All right, but Sarah's very small at first, tiny. And the thing that makes Sarah grow is she gets lots of love the first 9 months of life. She gets hugged and hugged and held and hugged, and she grows up to be nice and big so that she can tell him no. And Camille, yes. Okay. So this is what God devised for us, and I think that's pretty incredible. Except, how many of you were loved and hugged those first 9 months of life? Okay. Now, what doesn't count is being in a stroller. Or it doesn't count being in the playpen all the time. What counts is being held and held and held those first 9 months of life. Many of us grew up with working parents or that weren't there. So we end up having a very small Sarah. And what they discovered in the northern countries of Europe, Finland, Sweden, Switzerland, is that criminals had a small Sarah. So they knew how important it was to develop this part of the brain. Thank you for being, can we give them a hand? Wasn't that much easier to show than me talking about the different parts? Yeah, okay. So, If we don't get that, and they discovered that, well, we really need that, how do we get it? Now that we're this age, how are we going to develop that part so that we can say no to that reactive brain? That reactive brain is the one that when somebody says, oh, I don't have time to do that, and you jump down their throat. Or your child says, I didn't pick up my room, and you put them on 6 months, restriction. Have you ever overreacted? Okay, that is what's happening. So, Andrew Newberg, who's a neurologist who wrote how God created the brain, or how God, anyway, Andrew Newberg, you have to look him up. In this research, they showed that when people do this typical meditation that I'm going to show you, for 12 weeks they did this research. 8 minutes a day they did this meditation. At the end of 12 weeks, there was a 50% increase in Sarah. Where'd you go, Sarah? The anterior cingulate gyrus grew 50% in 12 weeks at 8 minutes a day. Meaning that the person is able to not react. A person is able to be in a place that's more loving and more in control of their thoughts. Would that be a good thing to have? Yes. Okay, so I'd like to show you that meditation. We'll do it for a hand. So what you're going to do is you're going to coordinate it. You're using practically all your senses, but you're going to coordinate your thumb touching your fingers. Thumb to each finger. And as you're doing this, you are breathing. So you're inhaling, exhaling. Next finger, inhaling. One finger, exhaling. Inhaling one finger, exhaling another. Inhaling and exhaling. When they did the research, they used a mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, but it doesn't matter what you are saying. What matters is just that you're saying something that allows you to go within. So for myself, I use there is one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. So what I'd like you to do is we're going to do this just on one hand. I'll say the words, unless you want to say them with me as well. And you are doing, breathing in, there is one life. Next finger, that life is God's life. Inhaling, that life is perfect. Exhaling, that life is my life now. So, let us just get in a space. Go ahead and center or go within. Close your eyes if it feels comfortable with your hands, palms up on your lap. Beginning with whatever hand is comfortable for you, inhaling, there is one life, touching that finger, exhaling, that life is God's life. Inhale, that life is perfect. That life is my life now. Next hand, inhale, there is one life. Exhale, that life is God's life. That life is perfect. Next finger, that life is my life now. We're going to do it one more time. There is one life. Exhale, that life is God's life. Inhale, that life is perfect. That life is my life now. Next hand, there is one life. Inhale. Exhale, that life is God's life. Inhale, that life is perfect. Exhale, that life is my life now. And breathe. That meditation, just done 8 minutes. You communicating with your body in that way is changing your physiology, is changing the structure of your brain. And in doing so, it's allowing you to be in the world. See how we can start to develop this greater love relationship with our body when we know there's ways that we can work with it, that we can just be with it and let it take us to that next state. Because you're not only going to feel good here and doing the meditation, you're going to really find out how good it feels when something difficult comes up and you take a breath and you don't react. When someone tells you something upsetting and you just breathe before you blurt. That'll make the world a better place right there. Now, what if you're saying, okay, but I don't have time to do this freeze frame technique and think about how I want to feel or what emotions are in my body? Or what if you're saying, well, yeah, that all sounds good, but you know, this whole thing, it's confusing, so I don't want to do that either. Which is fine, but we have to breathe. We have to breathe. And you've heard the breath is life itself, correct? This life. I want to close with this. The breath. To breathe in is to be inspired, inspired, to breathe. To exhale is to let go. Now the breath is just like life. I mean, we want to breathe in and be inspired, and we want to let go. We want to let go of the CO2. But what is the hardest step in spiritual mind treatment? Letting go. Oh my God, I had such a hard time with letting go. Because I know what I want. I can identify with the one. I can know that I am an expression of the one. But when I do my realization and I do my gratitude, then when I'm thinking, okay, God, I want you to do this, but I'm going to help. Let me show you how the best way is. How many of you do that? Little control freaks out there, admit it, admit it. Okay. Letting go is not only hard in our prayer work, it is hard in our breath. So many times when we breathe in, see, there's this natural mechanism in our body. Breathing in excites us, excites that sympathetic nervous system. Exhaling calms us because it engages the parasympathetic nervous system, your calming nervous system. But so many times we breathe in and don't exhale, we're in more excitement all the time. Excite, excite, excite. We have these beta waves going on in our head. Sometimes we're so excitable that even when we go to meditate, we don't get down to that level. It's true. So in order to get to that level of peace, see, when our brain is going, we can't heal. We can focus. We can get some projects done, but we can't heal. That's not the frequency in our brain that's needed for us to heal. This divine creator said, no, in order for you to heal, you're going to have to relax. And you're going to have to relax really good. And in order for you to relax, you're going to have to breathe. I mean, it's really pretty basic, right? There's this great design We just have to listen to it. In order for healing to happen, the exhalation has to be longer than the inhalation. So you'll inhale for a count of 4, and you will exhale to a count of 6. So as we go into our prayer work, I'd like to guide us on just doing that little meditation, taking you deeper. What you're creating are alpha waves in your brain. And if you really relax, like if you relax to the point of like you could nod off, that's actually good. So I would love to see some people just go like that. That means you're getting into your alpha theta waves. And just as a note, you know, Thomas Edison knew that this was the most creative healing part of his scientific work. So he would get a problem in his mind. He would go sit in his chair with a handful of marbles. And he would think about what his problem is. He would go and doze off. And just to that point of dozing, the hand would open, and that would be his idea. The marbles would drop, he'd awaken, and he'd know that was the solution to his problem. It was right there at the subconscious. So I'm inviting you that as we do this short meditation, you may have something come up for you that is healing, that is your next step, that is something for you to know. Because you know what? This time together today is all about you. So I'd like you to go within. So if it's comfortable for you, to go within. And we're just going to start with, again, allowing your shoulders to drop. Your back to feel supported by the chair and your legs to feel heavy. And as you inhale, count to 4. And as you exhale, count to 6. Let that exhalation be slow and steady. Inhaling to a count of 4. Exhaling to a count of 6. Inhaling and exhaling. And while you focus on your breath, Bodhi will take us deeper with the music into that state of alpha. This is where healing happens. It happens within. It is from this one place. This place deep within, call it the seat of the soul. It is the place within that is undisturbed by life circumstance, like the depths of the ocean undisturbed by the turbulence of the waves. There is this place within that knows all is well. As the breath is deep, we are consciously connected with that source. that source within, that source that is everywhere, expressing itself beyond the galaxies, from every little flower to every star and beyond, that one that is everywhere is right here. Putting your hands on your heart. It is right here. That one that I call the beloved, that is the truth of my being, that is creating the universe anew in and through everything, is creating itself through every cell of my being. And of course, what is true for me is true for each and every person in this room and their loved ones. For it is the truth of all that is. The divine exists as an intelligence, a creative transformation that happens throughout the universe. It exists in every cell, muscle, fiber, and tissue of each person here. It is that which lifts them, holds them, guides them. It is the gift within each and every one. And it is from this place that I know and accept this divine is guiding each person into a greater level of self-love. There is a renewed partnership between the divine inner healer and each person here today. That each person is listening with a greater sense of compassion, a greater sense of patience, and even levity. I give thanks for the joy and the appreciation that is expressed as we embrace this physical form, this earthly temple, and know that it is guiding each of us on a greater level of expression, a greater level of healing, a greater level of joy and love. Truly, it is happening here, and to the degree that we open our heart, mind, and soul to accept it as so is the degree to which it manifests. So if you are willing to open your heart, mind, and soul and know that the beloved speaks through you as you, all of you from head to toe, if you are willing to know this truth, please join me in saying, and so it is. Blessed be.